Hey TVC kids, happy Saturday. It's a nice cool day ready for a good story. Now, I picked this story because it reminds me of one that Isaiah loved when he was really little. And it's called The Woodsman, but it talks about him having an axe. And guess what Isaiah just got this week? He got his first real big axe. It's his very own. So he has been chopping wood for our fire pit so that it's all ready, and he loves to do woodworking. So let's hear about this woodsman and his axe. This is called The Honest Woodsman, and it's a fable told all around the world. Once upon a time, out in the green, silent woods, near a rushing river that foamed and sparkled as it hurried along, there lived a poor woodcutter who worked hard to make a living for his family. Doesn't that sound like a beautiful place, though, with the rushing little river? Every day he would trudge into the forest with his sharp, strong axe over his shoulder. He always whistled happily as he went. Isaiah does that too. If you lived at my house, you would always hear Isaiah whistling happily. He whistled happily as he went because he was thinking that as long as he had his health and his axe, he could earn enough to buy all the bread his family needed. Here's a picture I'm going to hold up for you. Can you see that? See the beautiful tree and the river and the woodsman? I love the illustrations. One day, he was cutting a large oak tree near the riverside. The chips flew fast at every stroke, and the sound of the ringing axe echoed through the forest so clearly you might have thought a dozen wood choppers were at work that day. So he was very good at wood chopping. He would chop, 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 so that he thought there was a lot of them there. By and by, the woodman thought he would rest for a while. He leaned his axe against the tree and turned to sit down. But he tripped over an old gnarled root, and before he could catch it, his axe slid down the bank and into the river. Grab it! He missed. The poor woodman gazed into the stream, trying to see the bottom, but it was far too deep down there. The river flowed over the lost treasure just as merrily as it did before. So the river was flowing. The axe fell down fast, and it was gone. "What will I do?" the woodman cried. "I've lost my axe. How will I ever feed my children?" Just as he finished speaking, up from the lake rose a beautiful lady. She was a water fairy of the river and came to the surface when she heard his sad voice. So here's the water fairy. A beautiful fairy coming out of the river. "What is your sorrow?" she kindly asked. The woodman told her about his trouble, and at once she sank beneath the surface and reappeared in a moment with an axe made of silver. "Is this the axe you lost?" she said. The woodman thought of all the fine things he could buy for his children with that silver. But the axe wasn't his, so he shook his head and answered, "My axe was only made of steel." The water fairy laid the silver axe on the bank, and she sank down in the river again. In a moment, she rose and showed the woodsman another axe. "Perhaps this one is yours?" she asked. The woman looked. "Oh, no," he replied. "This one is made of gold. Wow. It's worth many times more than mine." The water fairy laid the golden axe down on the bank. Once again, she sank into the water. Up she rose. This time she held the missing axe. "That's mine," the woodman cried. "That is surely my old axe." "It is yours," said the water fairy. "And now, so are the other two. They are gifts from the river because you have told the truth." And that evening the woodman trudged home with all three axes on his shoulder, whistling happily as he thought of all the good things he would bring for his family. So there's the woodman with all three axes because he told the truth. Truth is a great thing. You know, I love these stories because it reminds me of things our kids learned as really young children. And they learned that telling the truth is really important. And where do you find the truth? In the Word of God. So you guys know what truth is. You know how to find the truth. I hope that story will stay in your mind and help you remember that when it comes down to it, tell the truth, and there is reward in that. I love you guys. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you soon.